We'll be talking about the immune system. And last night was cancer. Tonight's going to be the immune system, and then tomorrow night is going to be diet and the mind. Saturday will be total temperance, and then on Sunday we're going to get treated to how to cook this delicious food. So Dwayne can have as much time as he has. I'm not going to delay. And Dwayne, would you like to come up here? And you guys are going to be amazed at what he's going to tell us.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and rest it here. Let me go ahead and say good evening to everyone. It's good to see you all, and I'm very grateful that you came on out once again so we can talk a little bit more about how to take charge of our health. And so tonight we're dealing with a subject that is very relevant, very timely, and that's dealing with the mighty army within. We're talking about our immune system. There's been a lot of talk on mainstream media when you think about immunity. And the reason we know this is because we just not long ago, and we're still dealing with it now, but certainly not to the levels like what we dealt with a couple of years ago, we're dealing with COVID-19. And the reality is that when this disease came on the scene, there was lots of diverse views from the political world, the athletic world, almost every world, including the medical world. And natural immunity started to become a very big subject because there was this big battle between, vaccination or natural immunity, which one is more strong, et cetera. And there was a lot of dialogue, a lot of things that went about. And there was quite a bit of science, I'm grateful, that showed that natural immunity is very powerful. Just really, as a result of going through it, the body building the antibodies, that it would last. And in many studies, they showed it lasted even longer than the efficacy of the vaccines and so on. And this is not to get into any debate on one side or the other, vax or no vax, just natural immunity. But I'm grateful that we were able to have a time where immunity was really brought to the front, just to the common man or woman. And it is something that we all should pay attention to. It's a beautiful thing that accompanies our creation, the way we were made. We were all made with a mighty army within. And so as we prepare to kind of go ahead and talk a little bit tonight about this mighty army within our immune system and the importance of immunity as we are officially in the flu, cold, and COVID season. Well, while we're in this season right now, where a lot of people are being afflicted with this is a great time to talk about this. And I got some really good things to share with you all. So as we prepare to do that, every night when Pastor Rod was here, he would offer a word of prayer. I'd like to go ahead and do that very quickly. And then we're going to go ahead and go right into our subject. Loving Father, I want to thank you for everyone who is here. I'm grateful, Lord, that we can talk about the creation you made, our bodies, our immune systems. And we just ask that you'll bless us, that we may leave here with a better understanding and also excited about how we can better take charge of our health to protect ourselves from the many diseases that are unfortunately plaguing our wonderful people in our country and all over this world. So bless us to this end now, we ask, for we ask it in Christ's name. Amen. Okay, so when we're dealing with this mighty army within, the immune system, let's talk about it. There's a few things that we need to understand. When we talk about what is the immune system, just simply, what is the immune system, okay? The immune system is an amazingly intricate collection of specialized and not so specialized cells, organs, and structures, the mission of which is to identify and destroy foreign invaders before harm is done to the body. So this is why we call it an army, okay? An army, a bunch of patrollers walking around looking for the invaders. And if the invaders come inside of the body, then their job, the immune system, is to go in and to do this work. So let's notice the work. Disease-causing organisms such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites are detected upon entry, tagged for termination, and devoured by hungry immune system cells. It's an amazing thing. I don't know how many of you have ever had a chance to go under a microscope or go online and look at how the white blood cells actually operate when there's a foreign invader in the body. It's a most beautiful thing to see, okay? In fact, it goes on to say here, dealing more with the immune system, to function properly, the immune system must be able to distinguish. Now, this is really important, especially when we get into the world of something called autoimmunity, okay? To function properly, the immune system must be able to distinguish between cells and substances that belong in the body and those that are foreign and potentially dangerous. Lymphocytes, don't lose sight of that word. Lymphocytes, such as T cells, B cell, and macrophages, can detect gene-coded chemical features on the surface of a cell that signify self or non-self and respond accordingly. Non-cell markers termed antigens normally trigger an immune response. It's an amazing thing that, we used to always think that, the only people who should study the immune system and really get into the body were those who were trying to practice medicine. But did you know that in Hebrew culture, in the Middle East, in Hebrew culture, it was actually important for all children, whether they were in medical practice or not, to understand their frame. And the reason we know this to be true is because, have you ever thought about this? When you think of the Bible and you think of King David, did you ever hear or read anything about him being a medical practitioner? You ever heard or read anything about that? I never read that before, like he was good in medicine or anything. I knew he was a man of war, for sure. He obviously was a king. He obviously was good looking. He obviously was married, had children. I mean, there's many things about his life. But I often wondered, what made him say this? One day he comes along and he says, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. And I'm thinking to myself, how did you know that you were fearfully and wonderfully made? How did you know that? And the reason he knew that is because, again, in Hebrew culture, anciently, the children were taught to understand their bodies. They were taught to understand their frames. And that's why I want to encourage you to think about this. You don't have to be a medical practitioner to understand your body. You don't have to have a goal of becoming an EMT, a nurse, a doctor, or anything else in between, and then say, okay, now I'm going to understand my body. I would like to encourage all of you, you need to start learning your body now. Regardless of what your goals are in life, regardless of your calling, regardless of your career choice, you should learn how your body operates. Now, there are levels of detail where it may make total sense to do that if you are going to be a medical practitioner, and it maybe won't make a lot of sense for you to do that. But if I were to say the integumentary system, what system am I talking about? We're talking about the skin, right? If I say musculoskeletal system, I think that's a big hint, right? We're talking about our bone structure and our muscles, right? But these are all systems that we have that to some degree or another, you and I should know how it operates. We should know what makes it well and what doesn't. An example is if we have the nervous system and we're thinking about vitamins, what do you think is one of the key vitamins that a person needs to eat or have in their system to have a healthy nervous system? Does anybody know what that is? B vitamins. B is in boy, okay? There is, the more that you understand your systems, you're able to kind of know what you need to do in certain relations to taking care of your body. Now, one of the reasons why I resonate with this verse where it talks about we're fearfully and wonderfully made is because I want to show you something that's going on right now. Right now, we are living in the flu season, we're living in the cold season, we're living in a season of a lot of things going on around us in the name of viruses and bacteria. And one of the things I thought was pretty awesome is that when you and I walk around, sit down, listening to a presentation, did you know that this is going on inside of us right now? That is a white blood cell chasing a bacteria that has invaded the body. I mean, think about that. Look at that. The bacteria is like, oh no, and that bacteria is trying not to get caught. But look at that white cell going in between the red blood cells, etc. Look at how that white blood cell, that's the army, gotcha, gets it, and then it consumes it. And that's going on right now while we're sitting down enjoying a presentation. That's going on when you and I are asleep. This is what's happening in this fearfully and wonderfully made creation called the human body. We have an army within. And the reasons why we're not afflicted with so much, disease and things of that nature, the reason why we sometimes get sick but then we get well again is because of that army doing their work. And that's the reason why, like I told you, I would encourage you to learn all of your systems. I really would encourage you to do that. You want to know your endocrine, reproductive, excretory, musculoskeletal, nervous, digestive, cardiovascular, integumentary. You want to know all of those systems. And you can do it. There's so many books now. You ever seen the Four Dummies series? Any ever seen those, the Four Dummies? You know, they say, calculus for dummies, or whatever. And the whole, that series has become super popular, okay? It's always like black and yellow. You always see those colors. And, the Four Dummies series, they even have anatomy, physiology for dummies. And it's not that they're trying to be insulting. They're just simply saying, hey, even if you consider yourself hyper ignorant, you can go ahead and still learn these subjects on a very lay person's level that you can now say, wow, I understand a little bit more about my body, how it operates, and how I need to take care of it, okay? Because what's our whole theme for this whole week? Take charge of your health. Is that to say that we are now going to treat physicians and clinicians with all of this suspicion and all these things? Is that the focus of our week? No. The focus of our week is to say, let the doctors do what they do. Let the clinicians do what they do. And we thank God for them. But we also recognize that we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves. We have a responsibility to remember that you are in charge of your health. And therefore, even if there are things you're not comfortable taking, it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, I'm not comfortable taking that. I'd like to try something different. And they're already getting paid, so let them work. And you go ahead and you say, hey, I'd like to try something different. But you and I need to take charge of our health because this is the only body we have. And you want to do your best to take excellent care of it. Yes? The Four Dummies? Anatomy and physiology for dummies. So that's just a way of understanding our bodies in a very simple way. Now, while we have this amazing army within, the armies exist because they know that there's an invader. There's an invader that sooner or later is going to try to take resident within our bodies and cause affliction, cause disease, cause suffering, and even death. So when we think about some of the enemies of the body, some of those things that, can go against our immune system, these are your top guys right here. We are always watching out for bacteria. We're watching out for viruses. We're watching out for fungus. And we're watching out for parasites. Parasitic infection is at an all-time high. And the reason why is because a lot of people are not very hygienic when it comes to their taking care of their food. When you buy an apple from a store, you do understand there's probably 5 or 10 other hands that touch that same apple. And sometimes, one of the hands that touched that apple might have been a guy or a girl who went to the bathroom and totally ignored the sign that said all employees must wash their hands. You understand what I'm saying? So people are going around touching areas, and then they leave not washing their hands, and then they go ahead and pick up a lot of those apples and pears and plums and all of those things that we buy from the store. That's why sometimes it's not enough to just pick up the apple and just give it a little rinse under the water and just start biting in. Because what can end up happening is we can get certain infections, especially parasitic infections. And sometimes, you'll know it. There's a lot of different types of tapeworms and different types of worms that people can get in their system. But that's the reason why we should clean our food. That's the reason why if you buy nuts, if you buy raw nuts where you just kind of put it in a bag and let it flow in there and you wrap it up and weigh it and buy it, you got to remember sometimes other hands were touching on all those nuts and then putting it there for you. So that's the reason why we wash our food and these type of things. Hygiene is huge. But this is the whole point, is that when we talk about enemies of the immune system, we're really talking about bacteria, viruses, fungus, and parasites. These are the things that we're watching out for and doing all that we can to make sure that we don't invite these things unnecessarily into our systems. Now, I know how it is. You shake somebody's hand and you go on throughout your day. You take that same hand and you put it on your face. You might rub your eyes. You might go ahead and do things to your nose, or what have you. And it's just that easy that things can go from outside inside. All right? So there's some degree where, hey, like I said, I'm not here to create hypochondriacs. I'm not here to try to get us all of a sudden that, everybody we greet. I know some people that do that. I went to one man one time and I saw him, I knew him. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And I stuck my hand out and he passed my hand, and he made me grab his arm instead. And I was like, oh, that was weird. you know? But he was really, and this is way before COVID, so it wasn't like a COVID hypochondria. This was just a gentleman who really, really was a germaphobe. He was like, I don't want any germs on me. So he just passed my hand and just whoop, and I'm like, oh, I'm shaking his elbow, whatever. But there are people out there that are very concerned, and I have no judgment for them. I do have a couple of friends that have very, very weak immune systems. And those who have very weak immune systems, they have to do a little bit more to get themselves together, and to protect themselves. So I understand why some people might go maybe to an extreme. I don't know if any of you have ever noticed this. Have any of you ever paid attention to the lab report for individuals who are vegetarians and vegans? Have you ever looked at the lab report for individuals who are vegetarian and vegan, plant-based diets, and you see their white blood cell counts? Are they high or are they low? They're low. They're low. It's very consistent. You will often see. So let me give you an example. In a lab report, first of all, labs are largely based on sick people. They're not necessarily based on healthy people. So a lot of the number references that they give there is because of this observation that they've done on a lot of folks, unfortunately, who have been sick. So on an average lab report, your white blood cell count is supposed to be at a 4, typically, between 4,000 and 11,000. So if you do a vegetarian or you do a vegan, the people started to notice their white blood cell counts will sometimes be a 3, or sometimes an even 2.5. And so the doctors will say, hey, your white blood cell count is a little low. They'll say, are you okay? Are you getting sick? And you know what they say sometimes? I haven't had a cold for the past 8 years. Not even a cold. And you begin to wonder, why is it that people who have these plant-based diets, their white blood cell count seems to be lower, but yet they're not getting as sick as others who have a 4, 5, 6, 7,000 count? The answer is very simple. I'm not from California. That's the answer. No, but there's more. Let me give you more. I'm not from California. You know where I'm from? I'm from New York. I was born and raised in New York, okay? New York City. Now, in New York City, there's a lot of crime. So do you know what New York City has to have a lot of? Police officers. The police officers are at very high numbers because they know that there's a lot of crime that's going on in the area. But then one day, I moved from New York and I moved to an area called Monticello, Georgia. It was in the country. The population there had to be about maybe 5,000, like really low. And you know what I found out? In the country where I lived, they hardly had any crime. So they only needed just a few police officers. You see, when your body has a lot of bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasite infections, and all these things, when your body has a lot of crime going on the inside, it needs more soldiers. But if your body has no inflammation, very little viral or bacteria infection, then you know what your body says? We only need a few police officers. And the reason why they began to see so many of these vegetarians and all these vegan people, they seem to have all of this low white blood cell count. The reason why was because they didn't have a lot of crime going on in their systems. But you know what was interesting? Once a virus or bacteria came in, a whole lot of police officers came out of nowhere. In other words, if the immune system was needed, they would show up and they would take care of business. And so it is that you will find, don't get fooled by the reference ranges. Sometimes when they say, hey, your white blood cell count is low, just look at it. Now, if you're at like a 1, I think we should be concerned. But if you find that the average numbers are 4,000, but maybe you're only at 3.5 or 3, there's probably nothing wrong with you at all. In fact, there's probably a lot of right with you. You follow that? Now, considering this, another thing to understand is that there's something called the fat cat. We're going to watch out for the fat cat. These are the threats to our immune system. Watch out for the fat cat, okay? What is the fat cat? The fat cat, these are the things that typically bind our immune system. They compromise the immune system. It begins to make it weaker and worse and not do its job properly. We call it the fat cat. F is for fatty and highly processed foods. These are things you don't want to eat a lot of, especially if you know you're about to go on trips or if you're going to do something special where you need to make sure that your health is at a very high level. You want to do your best to mind eating a lot of the fatty and highly processed foods. You know, sugar is a processed food, by the way, you know. So that means you don't want to eat large amounts of sugar because that's something that can ultimately bind or compromise the immune system. Obviously, your fried foods. You want to be careful with that. That's a processed food. That can also bind or compromise yours and my immune system. The fatty foods, that causes cell response to become very, very sluggish. That was one of the reasons why we studied on diabetes, that if an individual is afflicted with diabetes, we will find that the cells are not responding to the insulin to let the glucose in. Why? Because of the fat in the diet and the fat that's on the body. And so it is in like manner, toxicity. We talked about that yesterday. We talked about how there's foreign bodies that are out there. We want to guard against letting them within. Anxiety and stress can negatively, that's why we saw last night the negative emotions of bitterness, anger, resentment. You know, I wish that I could. I'm going to talk with the team here because I would love to do a special program. And if I could do this special program, I'd like to do a Saturday afternoon if it were possible. We need to talk about forgiveness. If you want to get yourself sick, harbor bitterness, anger, and resentment in your heart towards people, that thing can cause all sorts of problems, and it can take you and I to an early grave. And a lot of people struggle with forgiveness because some of the offenses that have happened to us in our life are very offensive. But I found some secrets. I found some secrets that I would love to share to show you how you can forgive people that appear to you to be the most unforgivable human beings on planet Earth. I can actually show you how you can forgive unforgivable people. And it's not something that I created because I'm not a creator. I'm a creation, but I sit under the instruction of the Creator. And I'm letting you know that there is a very serious issue of the negative emotion of unforgiveness in the hearts of people. And it can really make us sick, family. It can make that immune system get so bound and so suppressed. So when we talk about anxiety and stress, these negative emotions, that can do a serious number. And that's why tomorrow night's subject is diet and the mind. We're going to talk a lot about the mind, and we're going to talk about diet and lifestyle of how it can help us get on a good ground when it comes to our mental health. Things like caffeine, you know, and that's not just coffee. That's also a lot of our soft drinks, okay? I know a lot of young men. I have a relative who started to stay up late but had to go to work, and so they started taking these high caffeinated beverages, Red Bulls and all these things. Very young person, only I think 18, had a seizure. Went into a seizure. Some of these highly caffeinated beverages, they are doing a number on our systems, especially our immune system. And so we have to watch out for the caffeinated drinks out there, alcohol and tobacco. And, again, when we talk about caffeine, of course, I'm talking about especially coffee. We have a lot of coffee drinkers. And, there's no condemnation. This is education, okay? So I'm not here to condemn anybody, but I want us to start thinking a little bit, because if you're going to take charge of your health, you need to know what you need to know. When it comes to coffee, which we know, and remember, decaf does not mean no calf. It just means less calf. You know that, right? Don't be fooled when you say, oh, it's decaf. Decaf just means less calf, but it doesn't mean no calf, okay? But nevertheless, when we think about coffee, here's a little statement here. And I thought that this was powerful. This is from the National Institute of Health. Look at what they said. Caffeine has also been reported to suppress human lymphocyte function, as indicated by reduced T cell proliferation. You know what your T cells are for? Fighting cancer. So you got to think about that. You don't want your T cells to be reduced. You want those guys to stay right intact and be like that army that, remember, we have at least 100,000 cancer cells already in our body. The only reason we don't have cancer is because those T cells and B cells are stronger than those cancer cells. But imagine if we had a habit that would reduce our T cells. That would work against us, not for us. That's an invitation to disease, not a pushing away of it. So I want you to think about that. Caffeine is a very serious drug that you want to start doing what you can to say, how can I still have fulfillment without necessarily putting something in my system that could be poisoning me and making me sick? So again, it says caffeine has also been reported to suppress human lymphocyte function as indicated by reduced T cell proliferation and impaired production of Th1, interleukin, and interferon, and cytokines. Studies also indicate that caffeine suppresses antibody production. So caffeine is really, really, really actually not good for us. I understand that why we use it kind of gets us going, in the event that we're feeling a little down and out. There's some other ways around that. If you love coffee, come talk to me afterwards. I got some good coffee alternatives for you. All right? There's some nice things out there that taste like coffee, but doesn't give you the buzz, and it doesn't do all those things. So you can still enjoy the taste, while at the same time you don't have to necessarily get all the negatives, okay? But yeah, these are the things that's binding the immune system. But let's talk about how to build up the immune system. Let's talk about how to keep our immune system strong. I want to reiterate God's plan. These laws of health, you'll remember we talked about it from the beginning of our meeting, and we talked about how these laws of health, while there's so many health practitioners today that are talking about these things, it is very sobering and enlightening to think that it all began with God and the Bible. And again, we're not here to indoctrinate, we're just here to inform. It's like, hey, if you didn't know, you should know that there's a source of where a lot of these things came from. And the reality is that if we were to put godly trust, get open air, have daily exercise, get good exposure to sunshine, get good, proper rest, drink lots of water, and always be temperate or self-controlled. Never allow yourself to lose control. And then lastly, eat food that is nutritious. Look at all of the benefits that you get, right? It helps relieve stress, purifies the blood, strengthens your cells, causes gene regulation, repairs your body, keeps us functioning and provides good cleansing, protects from harm, and nutrition literally becomes our medicine, okay? Now, I want to highlight just a few of these, just so we can see for ourselves, how does these things like sunshine or rest or water, I actually have a study where I did all 8 of these. And I looked at all the scientific data out there that shows that all 8 of these can help build up the immune system. All 8. But I'm going to go ahead and just show you a few as an example. The first one I want us to look at is sunshine. If you look at sunshine, look at what this says. And I put the links to every single article so that you can see these are reputable organizations that are doing the studies on hundreds and thousands of people to ultimately come to these conclusions. Check this out. Vitamin D. We know that sunshine, one of the number one things that we get from our exposure to sunlight is vitamin D. But a lot of people only understand vitamin D for calcium absorption. But vitamin D does more than that. Vitamin D does way more than that. And even during COVID, there was tons and tons of studies where they started realizing, hey, vitamin D is actually very important for immunity. Take a look. It says vitamin D is essential for bone health as well as muscle and nerve functions. But they said vitamin D also helps the immune system fight off bacteria and viruses. That's another motivation of why we want to do what we can to get ourselves out there exposed to the sunlight. But we're in the fall season. And because we're in the fall season, and because we are also getting cold, a lot of us may not necessarily get enough sun exposure as we would like. First of all, some of us are at work during all the sunlight hours, and things of that nature. So what can we do if we're not privileged to get access to the sunlight? Well, you could take a vitamin D supplement. A vitamin D supplement can actually do wonders for you and I. Take a look at this here. It's not untrue that vitamin C and vitamin D actually can help to support the function of your immune system. Vitamin C enhances the body's B lymphocyte or B cells production and stops the T cells from deteriorating. That's why you always want to get some good vitamin C. Do you know, how many of you, let's do a little pop quiz. What fruit, let's see, I wish I could give you a prize. I don't really have anything, but I just, hey, the prize is that you have a lot of knowledge. Okay, so here we go. What fruit gives you the highest amount of vitamin C? Okay, I heard guava, kiwi, what else? Grapefruit, say it again. Strawberries, lemon, blueberries, oranges. They all give vitamin C, but not the top. Are you ready for this? Acerola cherries. You did not say that. Acerola cherries has the highest concentration of vitamin C in all the food world. Here's another pop quiz. What do you think has the highest amount of calcium? What food group has the highest amount of calcium? Greens, kale, broccoli. Any more? Spinach. You ready? Bamboo shoot. Ah, that's a unique one. You ready? Sesame seeds. Sesame seeds. Sugarcane doesn't even come close. Yeah, sesame seeds has the highest amount of calcium in all of the food world. And that's why if you ever eat like bread or toast and you do a little tahini spread, the sesame, you're loading your body up with some nutrition. You understand that? That's what I'm telling you. These are great things to know, because now when you're doing your shopping and acerola cherries are in season, go grab them up. And there goes your vitamin C. But let's continue with this, all right? Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. You are absolutely correct. I have one. I use the acerola cherry powder. It's just the dehydrated pulverized, and I just take a scoop of that and mix it in my smoothie, and I get my whole vitamin C for the day. Acerola cherry, one of the best sources. So you're right. There's a ton out there in the world of supplements. Go ahead, I'm sorry. It helps get rid of your? Oh, yes, it helps eliminate the uric acid from the system. This is true. The only thing I'm going to recommend is if you do get a supplement, make sure you get it from a company that manages the product from the tree to the bottle. Okay? Be careful with the companies that they grow it over here, some middle person picks up the product and you don't know what's going on, and then it ends up in a bottle. Sometimes people are just paying for expensive urine. Like literally, you're buying dead herbs that you're just taking it and just makes your urine like nice and bright yellow, but it's not giving you what you need. So again, if you're going to use a supplement or go to a company, try to get one that manages the product from the tree or from the ground all the way to the bottle. If they're involved in the whole process of you getting it in your hand and in your home, that's going to more than likely be a more reliable supplement. It does require a little bit of research. It does require. One company that I use a lot is Life Extension. I use Life Extension a lot because they're a very, very good company in the way they manage their supplements. All right. Now, look, both of these, now this is talking about vitamin D, vitamin C. Both of these are very important immune cells that are basically, I'm so sorry, this is talking about the T cells and the B cells. Both of these are very important immune cells that are basically tasked with identifying and fighting bacteria and viruses. Vitamin D helps your body to create an antimicrobial peptide called cathelicidin, which stops bacteria, microbes, and viruses and regulates the function of your body's T cells. This is the article that it all comes from. So again, even if you're not getting outside, get a good vitamin D supplement. The one that I use, if you just want to know, you want to give it a try, you don't have anything in particular, I use Blue Bonnet. I order it right off of Amazon. Blue Bonnet, the liquid, 5,000 international units per drop. One bottle will last you almost a year. And you literally just take 1 or 2 drops, and that's it. And my numbers, when I got my vitamin D test, it came in at about 35 nanograms, which is normal, but it's low normal. Most doctors want to see you more towards 60 or 80 or higher. You don't want to go above 120. That can be vitamin D toxicity. So I took the blue bonnet and did that daily for 6 months. Went back, got my vitamin D tested again. I came back at 94. So literally, my body was absorbing that vitamin D very, very well. So again, if you want to do a supplement, you go ahead and give. If you're using something that works for you, fantastic. If you don't have one, look into Blue Bonnet. Very inexpensive. Almost everything I get from Amazon. Very inexpensive, and it works, okay? Exercise. Exercise, okay? We've been talking a lot about exercise this week, family. And remember, what's the best exercise? Very good, Sister Sharon. Sharon got it. The best exercise is the one you do. Remember that? That's the best exercise. Now, I agree that the great majority of us said walking. I would concur. Walking is a wonderful exercise, very easy on the joints, you know, something anybody can do in various ways. We had a man who was diabetic and he had a walker. And after his meal, he would just go ahead and do that thing. But he was getting it in. And he still had the benefits. It affected his glucose levels very, very well. So the bottom line is walking is always going to be your best go-to. But if you can get the hits, the jump ropes, and all of that, hey, those are bonuses. But just do something that you know you're going to keep doing, right? What does exercise do pertaining to immunity? Not only does exercise get the immune cells moving throughout the body during activity, but it also, I love this, look at this. It also promotes a lasting presence of these immune cells for up to 3 hours after exercise is completed. It then says this provides extra time for the immune cells to identify unwanted intruders and keep you from getting sick. That's why, can you imagine if you exercised every day? Or at least 5 days a week, 30 minutes or so? It's like you're giving yourself such an advantage that even when you're finished exercising, those immune cells are still working because you pumped them up because of your exercise. So that's the reason why we want to exercise daily, okay? Daily exercise. Proper rest. That precious little one looks like they are down for the count. And that's how we should be when we're sleeping. I mean, when you sleep, we talk about proper rest, okay? You're getting good quality sleep. Like I said, a friend of mine says, I go to bed 9 o'clock every night. And we said, wow, that's amazing. He says, no. He says, but I go to sleep at 12. Did you catch that? It's like I go to bed at 9, but I go to sleep at 12. And we were asking him, what were you doing from 9 to 12? And his answer was ruminating. Ruminating. You know what that is? That's when you go to bed, you say, all right, world, good night. You go in your bed and you say, man, I can't believe that person spoke to me like that today. I can't believe it. Can you imagine they said, you know what I should have said to them? I should have given them a piece of my mind. It's like you're in bed, but you're ruminating. You're going over your whole day, and now you're mad and reviewing stuff and everything. And before you know it, your adrenal glands are pushing out that cortisol. And before you know it, you're like, you know what? I can't sleep. And then you went to bed at 9. You went to bed at 9, but you went to sleep at 12. That's not proper rest, right? Proper rest is when you go down and lay down in your bed. Now, I have to tell you, I get good sleep. I actually do. I get good sleep. I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful to God for it. When I go in my bed and my head hits that pillow, it's kind of like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm gone. And it's like, that's it. I'm out. I'm out. That's the way it should be, right? So, but there's some people that struggle with that. They got to build themselves up. So some folks, they got to take tea, and they got to take certain herbs. They got to do like a bubble bath. And, it's like, hey, do whatever it takes, family. Don't feel judged. Don't feel condemned. You are you, and I'm me. And I promise you, everybody, I guarantee you all have something over me. I can guarantee you that. Something that I need to work on that you probably have it way better than I do, okay? So nobody leaves here or go around feeling like, oh, man, it's like, no, we all got struggles. But you do what you can to try to get to bed and to go to sleep. Now, if there's one thing I'll give you, we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, but if there's one thing I will give you is if you know you want to go to bed at 10 o'clock, or if you want to go to bed at 9 o'clock, I am going to recommend 2 hours before whatever time you want to go to bed, put the electronics away. Try to put those electronics away. Those things are some serious sleep stealers. Now, they're not only sleep stealers from the standpoint of, interest. They're like, oh boy, you want to look at stuff. They're sleep stealers because the blue light, your brain, that pineal gland, your brain does not discern very well the difference between blue light coming from a screen and the light that would come like from sunlight. And so at the end of the day, all of that light is saying to the brain, keep your serotonin levels up and keep your melatonin levels down. That's not what you want. When you get up in the morning, you want melatonin down, you want serotonin high. That's what keeps you happy and keeps you functioning throughout your day. But when you're getting to go to bed, you want serotonin down, you want melatonin high. And melatonin grows in darkness. The more dark, that's why a lot of people, they start dimming their lights and all these things at a certain time at night, and they start putting the phones away because you want that serotonin to go down and you want that melatonin to go high. And that's how you get great sleep, is with melatonin. What's the number one supplement that people take when they can't sleep? Melatonin, right? It's like your brain is ready to release it, but it just needs our cooperation. So that's why if you know you're going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, right around 8 o'clock, say, okay, I'm done. And you close this guy, or, of course, our little one-handed friend, you start saying, okay, it's time to finish up. All right, good night, everybody. You send all the texts to social media, everybody else, and then you go to bed. And then you'll see, and then you'll start sleeping great. So, what did they say about sleep? Look at what they said here. This was really, really good. The first few hours of sleep, that's why we're talking about when you go to bed, you want it to be a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you go to bed, you want to go down. Look at this. The first few hours of sleep are the deepest. It's during this time that the body performs tissue growth and repair, allowing healing and restoration to occur. Look at what's happening when you go to sleep. Tissue growth, repair, healing, growth. All of these things are happening when you're sleeping, okay? And then it says it's also the time when the brain, now this is a big one, the brain clears away stuff it doesn't need, making room for the stuff it does need. Now, what is this talking about? There is something that is connected with neurodegenerative diseases. What am I talking about when I talk about neurodegenerative diseases? Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, dementia, right? You know something that's connected with all of these neurodegenerative diseases? Beta amyloid plaque buildup. Beta amyloid, multiple sclerosis as well, yep. Beta amyloid plaque buildup. It's this buildup that can take place with the brain. Now watch this. I want you to look at what the article says here. That last sentence, it's also the time when the brain clears away stuff. Some of the stuff that the brain naturally releases chemicals to clear away is that beta amyloid plaque buildup. So getting good sleep plays a part, small or great, in helping to avoid neurodegenerative diseases by allowing the brain wash to take place and washing away. That's why, family, you got to prioritize your sleep. Sleep is king, okay? You got to get good sleep. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about that. Here's what they found. Most of the research, I found so many articles on this, most of the research agrees that the greatest amount of healing takes place between 10 and 2. So now you've got a goal you can set. If I want to build up my immune system, I'm trying to make sure that by 10 o'clock, I'm out. Because between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is where the largest part of all of that tissue growth, repair, rebuilding of the cells. All of that is happening within that time frame, okay? The largest amount of it is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., typically. Now, granted, there are many of us who have different bodies and respond. That's why I said typically. Typically, generally speaking, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's our crucial hours where we want to make sure we are out. Good night, world. Go to bed. Even students in school, we know everybody likes to cram. Cramming is not a good habit. I know a lot of people do it, but just because a lot of people do it, don't make it good. But cramming is not a good thing. And I remember when my children, as they're in college, listen, don't cram. Go to bed early, get up early, where your brain is refreshed, and then go knock out your schoolwork. Go knock it out. You'll do just fine. That's a much better plan than cramming and staying up all night and then trying to do it that way. You're inviting all sorts of negative stuff in your life. So the reality is that, hey, this is true. Now, in addition to that, take a look at this. The Mayo Clinic says, Olson, MD, yes, lack of sleep can affect your immune system. Studies show that people who don't get quality sleep or enough sleep are more likely to get sick after being exposed to a virus, such as a common cold virus. Lack of sleep can also affect how fast you recover if you do get sick. So the goal is get some sleep. And that's why, what do you always hear when somebody gets sick? Hydrate and get some rest. You understand that? Very, very good reasonings, good rationales. Now watch this one. Water. The beautiful, beautiful, beautiful substance, right? Water. When we think about our water, number one, how does water affect our immunity? Drinking water can help improve the overall immunity of your body. Staying hydrated helps your body naturally eliminate the bacteria and toxins that cause infection. That's why you got to drink water every day. Because we all are getting bacteria and stuff and toxins in our body. But the more we're hydrating, you're washing it out through those elimination channels. Look at what it says. With the help of water, oxygen and nutrients are distributed throughout the body, and waste material is flushed out from the body. That's the reason why you really want to hydrate. Now, this is dealing with internalizing water. This is where we're drinking water. But another way you can use water, and I want to encourage all of us to do it. I'm going to actually give us a challenge. I'm going to challenge us to do this tonight. When you get home, here's something you can do with water that's going to build up your immune system. Are you ready? Hot and cold. So we're talking about an external, okay? External. What are you going to do? You're just going to go in the shower, and here's what you're going to do. The procedure is simple and easy. Take a look. It's easy to remember. Just think 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 times. Okay? Don't forget that. 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 times. What does this do? 3 minutes hot followed by 30 seconds cold. Repeated 3 times. Oh, man, it builds you up. I'm serious. It does wonders for you. Yes, sir. Now, here's what you're going to do. By simply alternating the faucets. I have to admit, I like these. When you have one you can cut off, because when you go cold, you know how we are, right? We all like hot. Hot we like. Hot we're just like, oh, yeah, we're singing. We're having a great time in the shower because it's the hot. But once you get to 2 minutes and 50 seconds, you have to psychologically say, okay, 2 minutes, 50 seconds, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you cut off the hot water. There you go. We're going to hit the high note. There you go. You cut off that hot water, and you let that cold just hit you. No, you do a countdown. Just do a countdown. Yeah, you're just doing a countdown. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. Count to 60 3 times, what have you. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. But listen, now for me, what do I do? Oh, yeah, I like doing it front first. Because front is more punishing to me. It's like back I can deal with, but front is where it's like, oh, there's so much suffering. So when the cold hits me, I'm just like, oh, whatever. Yes, you're going to hit the note, but you can rub your body. That helps with circulation, and you're just like, whoo, whatever. 15 seconds. So I'm in my shower. Sometimes my wife hears me. She makes fun of me about it, but whatever. And it's like, I'm just like 16, 15, 14, 13, 15. And then once I get to 15, whoo, and I'm like, whoo, and then whatever. It's okay. Have a great time, right? You're in that shower, whoo, 15, 14. But what's amazing is your body adapts to it. Your body adapts to it. And here's the thing. You do that 3 times, when you come out the shower, when you go to bed, you know what's going to happen? More than likely, that thing works like a sedative. You're going to hit that pillow and say, 5, 4, 3, 2. It just calms you down. It works so wonderfully. You finish on that cold, and then you just dry up, put whatever your bedtime gear is, and you go right to bed. And let your immune system do that tissue growth, repair, and all those things. This is a great thing to do. Some people do it before they go to work. They do it in the morning. So either way, if you want to do it before you go to bed, or you want to do it in the morning, either way, make it happen. The way hydrotherapy works, compliments of Elder Prival, this is literally what's happening when you do a hot and cold shower. What's happening is when you do the hot, the heat causes the blood vessels to dilate, to open up. And it brings a lot of blood into that area. And then when you do the cold, what is it doing to the vessel? Constriction. So here's a question. If somebody was a stage 3 or 4 hypertensive patient, do you think it would be wise for them to do a hot and cold? Well, if you're looking at that vasoconstriction, if you're already high-level hypertensive, you probably want to be guarded with doing something that's going to vasoconstrict. You understand that? So hot is fine, but you might want to be a little careful with that cold because you don't know how it may impact that individual. So I'm saying that to you because, again, some of us may be hypertensive or what have you. If that's the case, talk to your doctor first. Make sure that it's all right. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but I know that the cold is going to cause some vasoconstriction. Do you think it'll be a concern for me? Get that clearance. I believe in communicating. If you got a good doctor, communicate with them and let them go ahead and give you the guidance that you need. Be careful of just jumping and trying stuff because sometimes you can hurt yourself, all right? But nevertheless, these are things you want to consider, all right? Now, I want to show you something here that we're getting ready to wrap up, but I want to show you something here. We all know about the pandemic. The pandemic that passed, and again, I know there's a diversity of opinions on it, all right? But one thing we know for sure is it was here. It was here, it affected a lot of people. But I want to show you something that I thought was pretty profound, and this is historical, what I'm showing. This is facts, this is not belief. These are facts, okay? This is irrefutable facts, what I'm going to show you right now. When I think about the COVID pandemic, there's a lot to think about, lots of opinions, lots of thoughts. But we've had past flu pandemics, okay? We've had other flu pandemics. Probably the biggest one still to have hit our world was coined the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu still impacted our world way more than COVID, way, way more, right? And how do we know that? Because it shows it right there. Look at that, 20 to 40 million deaths worldwide. COVID didn't do that, right? But in the US, it claimed 675,000 lives, okay? Another pandemic was the 1957 Asian flu, H2N2, had 1 to 4 million deaths worldwide, 70,000 in the US. And then you had the 1968 Hong Kong flu, which killed 1 to 4 million people worldwide, and it had 34,000 deaths in the US. Okay? Now, when I think about this is pretty amazing. Obviously, the 1918, 1919 Spanish flu was the one that did the most damage, okay? Even compared to COVID-19. It did the most damage worldwide. So what happened was there was 3 organizations that were in existence in the US that got highlighted in this report that was fighting against the Spanish flu. One was the United States outpatient hospitals, the other one was the United States Army, and then the other one was a group of sanitariums. They were sanitariums that were governed by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Sanitariums, okay? And here's what they looked at. W.A. Rubel was the secretary of the General Conference Medical Missionary Work. He was an individual that was in charge to do the research on this and put together this booklet. So what they did was they looked at U.S. Army outpatients, and they looked up 10 of those sanitariums. And they wanted to see who had the greatest success in addressing these issues. So what you're about to see here are what we call mortality rates, the percentage of people that died. So when you look at the United States Army, about 16% mortality rate. So 16% of the people that had the Spanish flu that came to the U.S. Army to get help, 16% died. The rest lived. Well, then they went and looked at the outpatient hospitals. The outpatient hospitals had greater success. The outpatient hospitals had about an 8% mortality rate. 8% mortality rate. So they did a little bit better than the United States Army when it came to addressing this terrible flu, the Spanish flu. But then what blew their mind was the research that they discovered with these sanitariums. When they looked at the sanitariums, everybody wanted to know, what was the mortality rate? One 1% of the people who went to the sanitariums died. 99% lived. So the question was, why was sanitarium therapy superior? This is actually a picture of people exercising at one of the sanitariums. And, they were doing exercise. They prioritized exercise with everybody every day. You can see the little children exercising, everybody getting involved. And the question was, what did they do? And here's what they did at the sanitarium. I was privileged to have the report on what they did at the sanitariums. One, they gave a lot of hydrotherapy treatments, those hot and colds and more. Some of you saw the other night when I talked about fever baths. They did a lot of that in those sanitariums. Then, better diet. The diets were plant-based. The diets were not animal-based. We've been learning throughout this week that unfortunately, a lot of the animal-based foods do not necessarily work in our favor for producing good, long-lasting health, that perfect, faultless, overcoming health. The plant foods far surpass, and that's why they promote still to date a whole food, plant-based diet. Better and more regular sleep. You ever tried sleeping in a hospital? Have you ever tried? Like, I remember trying. And I remember I was in the hospital. I had some work done on me, and I had to stay in the hospital for a little while, and it was nighttime. And I remember I was in the bed, and I was like, well, I am tired. Let me get some sleep. So I decided to go ahead and sleep. So I just said, all right, and just close my eyes and get some sleep. And I started to feel the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I started to feel the 5, 4, 3, 2, beep, beep, beep. Any of y'all know what I'm talking about? And I remember I hit that nurse's button. I said, oh, no, we're not going to have this. And I said, can you please cut that off? I said, let me ask you something. Why does it even beep in here? Can't y'all hear it outside? Seriously, I was like, what? I don't need to know. You need to know. And so I was just like, why does it even beep inside? I said, it should be beeping outside where you're sitting at your desk. And they was like, oh, it makes perfect sense, Mr. Lemon, but we can't cut it off. I was like, great. And I found that I couldn't get sleep. And so, it was a difficult situation. But nevertheless, in the sanitariums, they focused on making sure the people got good, sound sleep. Less stress. One of the reasons why there was less stress is because the doctors, the nurses, they were all trained not only to care for the person's body, but to care for the person's entire being. So a lot of these people were very, very nice folks. And so they were always just treating them with the utmost levels of courtesy and love and respect, and it really helped mitigate stress. Less chilling because they taught the people how to dress themselves. They began to teach dress. A lot of people don't know the connections between dress and health, but there's a lot, okay? They taught that, yeah. Better environment, all sanitariums were in the country. Sanitariums were not in the cities, they were in the country. So you would always be surrounded by nature. You were always surrounded by nature. They addressed a whole person, the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the social needs. And lastly, they provided better medicine, better nursing, and more life because they used a lot of non-drug medications to help the people get well. So this was the reason why the sanitariums were having such an incredible, superior experience to what was being done in traditional medicine in those days. And to me, the good news I love sharing is, as I started our meetings on Sunday night, Meat Ministry, Uchee Pines, Wildwood, Eden Valley, these are sanitariums. These are sanitariums you all could go to anytime you want. If you wanted to go there just to visit, to see, hey, I just want to see how you guys take care of your work. If you wanted to go there because maybe you wanted to get a reboot. It's like, I'm not really sick, but I'd like to get a reboot, maybe a cleanse or something. You can go there. And of course, if someone is sick, you can go there. And again, Meat Ministry is in Huntingdon, Tennessee. Uchee Pines is in Seal, Alabama. Wildwood is in Wildwood, Georgia. And Eden Valley is in Loveland, Colorado. And so you can go to any of these places and you can visit them, and they're doing the same things that were being done in the time of the Spanish flu. They're doing the same things today. And I think to myself, that's so exciting, and I'm just so glad to work with all these people and to know them. And I've seen these people just give all of themselves to help people go from sickness to wholeness. These are beautiful places. You keep them in your prayers. So let's start with meat. Meat Ministry probably has been around for, Meat Ministry right here has been around for 30 years, 30 or 40 years. Uchee Pines has been around for about 50 years. Wildwood has been around for over 80 years. And Eden Valley has been around for over 60 years. Yeah. So they've all been around. They have really awesome stories, and they've done wonders in our world today. And there's other facilities that work like this as well. These are just some of the most prominent of the sanitariums. Let me go ahead and bring it to a close for you all. Herbal treatments, while I do believe in herbal treatments, I'm not big on just saying, hey, go take this. Because sometimes, there's up to 16,000 emergency room visits every year for people taking herbs, and something went wrong. Okay, so you do need to be careful with that. Some of the more safe things is, like elderberry, echinacea, golden seal, oil of oregano. These are all, these are very powerful, but I always tell people, talk with your doctor before taking herbal supplements. Some of them have anticoagulant effects. So if you're already on a blood thinner and then you take one of these, you can get yourself hurt. You understand that? So that's the reason why I always encourage people, it's not that herbs are bad. Aspirin is one of the most popular drugs used today, but the very foundation of aspirin is something called white willow bark, an herb. So herbs are powerful. Herbs are very powerful, but they need to be intelligently used. And so you don't just go around buying stuff and just putting it inside of you. You want to be judicious, okay? But above all things, for building up that immune system, one of the best things you can remember before running to the herbs, I want you to remember, run to the food. Remember, food is your medicine, okay? Food, that's why we really, really stress the diet. That's why on Sunday, when we do our healthy cooking class, we're going to talk to you about diet. How can I get my nutrients from my diet and not necessarily from an herb and tinctures and pills and all these other things? Hippocrates said it, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And so to close for tonight, I actually wanted to give you a little boost as you're getting ready to leave. Now, you don't have to try this if you don't want to. That's number one. Number two, Elder, is grapefruit in this? Okay, because grapefruit is in what we're about to show you, if you are hypertensive and especially on hypertension medication, if you are on hypertension medication, if you are on lipid medications, if you're taking something for your cholesterol or what have you, I would recommend that you do not take this because grapefruit can have a contraindication, bad effect on individuals who are taking these medications. If you are not on any type of hypertensive medication, cholesterol medication, or anything like that, you can take this, okay? All right? I want to introduce you to something called nature's penicillin. This is food. Food that is your medicine. I had my wonderful brother. He and I have traveled in different places throughout the U.S. Elder and I walked the streets of Bulgaria 2 times together. We've done some awesome ministry and help with others. And he's going to pass around to you nature's penicillin. So again, if you're on these things or if you just don't want to take it, you can pass. But if you would like to take it, you're welcome to take it. This boosts the immune system, okay? And a lot of people take this throughout the winter season, all right? So it's really, really awesome, okay? What are the ingredients inside of our nature's penicillin? So what are you eating? Let's take a look. 1 grapefruit, 1 orange, 2 lemons, 3 cloves of garlic, 3 drops of peppermint oil, and half of a large onion. That is nature's penicillin. So as you can see, this is food, all right? It's very difficult to overdose on this. This is food, okay? This is not like medication. This is food. Now, unfortunately, there are some people who don't know the difference between a garlic bulb and a garlic clove. And that can be a nightmare if you don't know the difference and try to make this. So for educational purposes, I put this on the screen here. That is a bulb. And that is a clove. Okay? Sure. Did you want that other list? Yes. Okay. So look, I'll put it back up here. And maybe on Sunday when we do our cooking class, I'll go through the whole presentation on this. But I just wanted you to see what the ingredients of what you're about to take, so that way you know if you want to take it or not. If you have an allergic reaction to any of these things, then please don't take it. Yes? If they're organic. If they're organic, yes. We actually include the skin. If it's organic, yeah. But if it's not organic, forgive me, if it's not organic, then we just leave the pith, the rind, yeah. Okay? Say again? What kind of onion? You can use a yellow onion or white. We don't do red. Yeah, that's the only one we didn't do is red, but we do the yellow or the white. Okay, and it's not that you can't do it, but some people have found the red to just be too strong. So we usually do the white or the yellow. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, remember this. The bitter, the better. Yes. No. Do you see the texture of, did you take it? Did you see that texture? So that texture that you have right there, that's not juice, right? That's pulp. So you're blending this. You're not juicing it. No, not at all. This is raw. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Daily. You can actually, well, let me go ahead and do this real quick. So I'm going to go past that. Before you cut your fruit, right, it's better for you to roll your fruit. It gets the juices all worked up, okay? Then cut them into 1-inch pieces and then put them in your blender. You cut them into 1-inch pieces and then put it in your blender. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the instructions and then you go ahead and take a picture. So that's it for this slide. If your blender's not blending the penicillin, add some water and it will help blend. So go ahead and take your pictures if you'd like. Yes, Brother Dave. I'm going to show you that as well. It's going to come up on the slide. It's going to come up on the slide. All right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some ones that taste better. You can try Nature's Flu Shot. A lot of people like that one better, but the bitter the better. That's very strong, but it helps. Okay? Yeah. Huh? You can. You can. Sure, you can. Is everybody ready for the next slide? Okay. You pulse it 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 10 times, and then run it for 45 seconds to 1 minute until it's smooth. Okay? Got that? Say again? You can. You can. You most certainly can. Because they're going to get pulverized. Oh, I don't know. Elder, were the seeds left in this one? Yes. Oh, you put, okay. See, Elder really wants to make sure none of you get sick. Did you leave some extra for me, man? Good. I want to take one before I leave. But yeah, boy, I'm telling you, do that cayenne, whoo. 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of cayenne in this batch. But I mean, hey, this stuff it'll take care of whatever's going on inside you that don't belong there. Now, here we go. Next slide. After it is blended, Brother Dave, after it is blended, you can put it in a 32-ounce mason jar and put it in the refrigerator. It can actually last a few months. So it can last a long time, okay? It can last a long time. You put it right there inside of a mason jar, okay? The benefits of using it: it helps with colds, strep throat, influenza, respiratory congestion, fevers, boosts the immune system, contains vitamin C and potassium. Okay, so you could take it for all of these different types of things here. All right? And that's why we have a lot of people take this during the winter season. Okay? They take it during the winter season. We're going to get into how much. Here we go. Do not swallow immediately. You need to move it around your mouth for about 5 to 10 seconds. Then you swallow it. This is another little tidbit here. You can take the orange rind with the pith inside of it, put some honey on it, bake it for about 5 to 10 minutes at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, take it out and suck on it, and it works wonders for a sore throat. I mean, it does wonders for a sore throat. So you can do that as well. And then we're going to get to the last one, which is how much should you take? Okay? How much should you take? Just going to let everybody get their pictures. You got your picture already, Mom? Okay. So here we go. Oh, sorry. Hold on. There you go. Go ahead. Oh, you took it. All right. Careful, careful. All right, we're ready? Good? You get it, Sister Evelise? Okay. Here we go. How much should you take? If you are 12 or older, you need to take 1 cup a day. Now watch. It doesn't mean drink a cup at one time. It means to take a tablespoon every 3 to 4 hours. Okay? Now, remember, the cayenne peppers to give it a little bit extra kick, right? But you don't necessarily need to put the cayenne, or you don't have to put as much in, because the original recipe didn't call for it. You understand that? So if you feel like the cayenne's too much, no problem. You don't have to put it in there. That can be an additive. But the key is that this is pretty much how much you take it. Yes? No, 1 cup, 8 ounces. 8 ounces, a cup. Yeah, 8. When we say cup, we're talking about 8 ounces. 8 ounces, okay? So you do 1 cup a day, but you just take it multiple times within the day. Now, this is for somebody who's sick. If you're not sick, you don't have to do 1 cup a day. You might do 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. You do a tablespoon in the morning before you go to work. You do a tablespoon in the evening before you go to bed. You know, so you may not even do that much. Because again, for us who are not sick, it's just maintenance. It's just giving us a boost while we're still exercising, drinking our water, getting good sleep, you know, doing all of the other things that we should do. But this is something awesome that we can do. This is a way that food becomes your medicine. It's not just simply eating salads and eating, you know, a lot of great meals, but also remember, sometimes it's just simply taking a group of foods, blending them together, let the concentration blend together, and taking it in a teaspoon, tablespoon or so. All right? Yes? Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Absolutely. Yep. That's it. Whatever little maintenance we can do. That's awesome. I think that's great. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you can share this with your coworkers, friends, customers, whatever kind of relationships you have with what you do in the day. People appreciate this stuff because everybody wants to really make sure that they don't get sick. So these are just some little things we could do. Did your hand go up, Dave? Yeah. Yep. Got a nice little boost. We got a nice little reminder. But go for it. Yes. Yes, but I haven't seen a lot of hardcore science on it. In fact, a lot of the mushrooms out there, we're going to use the one that most people know of, shiitake, is extremely medicinal. Very medicinal, very anti-cancer properties. So, no, not necessarily. I know this, I understand why the thought process is there, but I haven't seen the data that shows that if you eat this, this is producing that kind of fungus, like what we talked about that suppresses the immune system. What I've seen is the opposite, that the reishi or the shiitake and others are actually building the immune system. So yeah, so I thought that was good news for those who like mushrooms. All right. So, family, we covered some good things tonight. We were able to look at the mighty army within and how we can build up our immune system so we can stay nice and strong for God, for our families, for our fellows, our friends, and even for those who we haven't had the privilege of developing a relationship yet, but hopefully we can get to meet them and be of a great blessing in their lives. I want to encourage you all to take care of your armies within. Now, here's the last question before we meet up tomorrow evening. Thank you for that. How many of us are going to do 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold, 3 times tonight? Let me see your hands. Because I'm going to ask you tomorrow. I'm going to say, all right, who did it? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 5. Good. You doing it? Okay, either tonight or in the morning. No problem. So I have about 6 countdown here that we're going to do this. Now, tomorrow night, we are doing diet and the mind. Unfortunately, mental health disorders are at an all-time high. It is so sad and so tragic what people are going through. We're going to talk about how we can help some folks. So if you yourself are feeling a little overwhelmed with anxiety, feeling a little overwhelmed with depression, feeling a little overwhelmed with some various disorders, tomorrow night will be for you. But if you know some people, you know some folks going through some things, my hope and my prayer is that we'll be able to get something that we can go help somebody else, okay? So don't forget, 7 o'clock tomorrow, Diet and the Mind. And lastly, I gave out cards to people who, and the purpose of those cards was if you want a free one-on-one personalized health consultation, you fill out that card, put your name, put your contact, and you put what you want to talk about. And you go ahead and you give it to Leah. Leah's in the back. Leah, can everybody say hi? Everybody sees Leah back there. And you can go ahead and do that. And that's just a service that we're just offering. It's free. There's no cost to you. But if you got something you want to talk about and you don't necessarily know how to handle it, you want to know how to handle it, we're willing to offer you that service, okay? It will be me that will be doing that one-on-one consultation. So if you would like to, please fill it out, and it will be my pleasure to get in touch. Because the Thanksgiving holiday is coming and things of that nature, some of us might do it over the phone, but some of us can do it face-to-face, especially if you're willing. I leave next Monday, so I'll be gone for the week. But, if you don't mind waiting till after Thanksgiving for a face-to-face, then we'll do face-to-face. But if you're okay with doing it over the phone, we could do it before, okay? But in either case, we are here to serve. I want to go ahead and thank God with a word of prayer for each and every one of you. I'm going to just ask for his blessings to be with you as you get ready to go home, all right? Let's pray together. Father in heaven, I just want to thank you for allowing us to learn a little bit about the body that you created and to learn about the mighty army within. Lord, I pray that you'll help us to do all that we can to build it up, keep it strong. And I ask that you'll keep each and every one of us, that as we leave here and go to our several homes, that you will grant us safe journeys and also allow to come to our homes in safety, that all would be well. And we ask it in Christ's name.